This is ABC7 News at 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
I want to enjoy the freedom to go and do as everybody else does and not stay locked up in the mental prison that I built for myself.
Our servicemen and women in need of mental health care issues, high suicide rates are plaguing our veteran community, but now the VA is offering new help. We'll show you what's being done to identify vets at risk and get them the support which could save their lives. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohn, and welcome to ABC 7 at 7. We'll have more on veteran suicide and prevention efforts coming up. But first, our top 7 stories at 7. And we begin in Sarasota. The opioid epidemic stretches from one end of the state to the other, but it's hit the Suncoast the hardest, which is why Governor Rick Scott came here today to sign a new law aimed at addressing the rampant opioid crisis. Under the new law, the synthetic opioid fentanyl is now classified as a Scheduled 1 narcotic. It is now a first-degree felony to possess 10 grams or more of the drug. Fentanyl is considered 100 times more potent than morphine and is directly linked to the rising number of overdoses. Under the law, those dealing the drug could now be charged with murder if a customer overdoses.
Having this in effect makes it clear, it makes it prima facie evidence. If a drug dealer deals fentanyl, heroin, or a derivative to somebody, we can identify who that drug dealer was, who provided that derivative to that person who overdosed. We will charge them with murder.
The new law goes into effect October 1st. A Sarasota couple is charged with animal cruelty tonight after sheriff's deputies say they failed to properly care for several horses. Benjamin and Wendy Watson were charged after deputies found 3 of 4 horses on their property on Winburn Place in Sarasota underweight. They tried working with the couple and had a veterinarian examine the horses and provide a feeding schedule to increase the animals' weight. But after a series of follow-up visits, deputies found the horses still without adequate food and water and still underweight. The horses are now undergoing rehabilitation. A sheriff's deputy is being mourned this week after he passed away from cancer over the weekend. A former Marine, Deputy Kevin Blakely, volunteered to help out at Ground Zero after 9/11, and it appears his prolonged exposure to the toxic pile resulted in his early death. He joined the sheriff's office 14 years ago and in 2012 won an award for pulling a man from a burning car.
When he went up to Boston and was treated, there was some talk, that this type of cancer is most likely due to the exposures that many first responders came into contact with at the 9/11 site.
Deputy Blakely is survived by his wife and 2 children. New developments on the Sarasota family lost at sea last year. Florida Fish and Wildlife investigators are releasing these never-before-seen photos of the family's boat before and after it sunk. Last June, Ace Kimberly and his 3 teenage children left Sarasota Bay for Fort Myers. There were high seas and they never made it to their destination. Ace's body was found along with the body of his daughter Rebecca. His 2 sons, Roger and Donnie, remain missing. Items found with the ship's wreckage include a burnt signal flare. The Atlanta Braves are moving their spring training to Northport in 2019, but the City Commission is questioning if it will get a good return on its investment in the team. Commissioners have committed to paying $300,000 over the next 30 years for the stadium and training facilities. Now, they are asking staff to conduct a study on the employment and economic impact of having the Braves here. While commissioners are wavering on the investment, the Chamber of Commerce says similar studies have produced promising results.
All the different groups, Sarasota County, Major League Baseball, have done studies around this all around the state. And it has shown that it has brought in more money than any expenses that could occur bringing a spring training team in.
The results of the study could impact Northport's city budget going forward. An update on the effort to repair and fund the Venice Fire Department. The City Council is proving the first step in imposing a new fire fee. It would require residents to pay up to $100 more annually in taxes. For years, the fire department has struggled due to a lack of resources. Council members say a tax hike will help restore quality first responder service to the island.
We have scarce resources, and at this particular time, we've decided that we really need to reinvest in the fire department. They need new equipment. and they have been ignored for a couple of years.
The city also plans to lower the millage rate to help defer the added costs for the fire department. County commissioners in Sarasota are responding to complaints about congestion at the nation's #1 beach, Siesta Key. In the last 3 years, 178 new parking spots were added to the beach. However, most beachgoers say it is not nearly enough. Today, commissioners discuss possible solutions, including adding a parking garage and making parking paid. Commissioners are waiting for input from the public before moving forward. I guess we are a victim of our own success, Bob.
Yeah, that happens, doesn't it? You got to keep up with it, I guess. And we are looking at not the best beach weather right now, Alan, especially on Longboat Key. Heavy showers now moving west into the Gulf of Mexico, containing some heavy rainfall. There's been no severe weather around, and it's raining near Lido as well. And just around Siesta Key, some light rainfall from Osprey northward. You can see that the activity continues to push off to the west. And even into Cortez, they had a little bit of rainfall earlier. That is, again, west of that and moving into the Gulf. Other storms, though, interestingly enough, are starting to actually back build east of where it's already rained. So light rain occurring near Lakewood Ranch. The rainfall rate 1 inch an hour. That's with the cell that has moved offshore now. And yesterday we were talking 2.5 to 3 inch an hour of cells. So the rainfall intensity not nearly as strong as it was. Mayaca City, you're getting a moderate rain shower right now. Rainfall rates haven't been all that impressive, but some of the estimates are 3.1 inches just to the east of Parrish and northeast Manatee County. That's where several surface boundaries kind of came together and really created a big storm there. 1.8 near Inglewood. Inglewood also had nickel-size hail right around 4:35, and Wauchula getting about an inch of rainfall there. Currently, looking at the Sarasota Bay, we see the heat index has dropped. That's the nice benefit of these afternoon showers. It's now 74 degrees, humidity 87%. We have an east wind at 10. It's raining with a thunderstorm near the airport. The pressure 30-10, and that is rising. Temperatures have cooled everywhere. So after highs today were in the low 90s, temperatures down to the mid to upper 70s. That's, again, one of the best parts of these afternoon storms is the cooling weather in the evening.
Okay, thanks a lot, Bob. And still to come, after they return home from the front lines, many veterans fight a different battle at home. But now the VA is trying to improve mental health care and lower the rates of suicides. We'll have the latest on the local effort when we return.
If you want 24/7 access to ABC7's breaking news stories, weather forecasts, traffic alerts, health reports, Suncoast View, and more ABC7 programming, now there's good news. Introducing the free ABC7 channel on Amazon Fire TV. Your 24/7 access to ABC7. Just search ABC7 on the streaming device and download the free ABC7 channel app. Or if you don't have an Amazon Fire TV, you can get one at Amazon.com.
Credit card debt can ruin your life. If you owe $10,000 and minimum payments are siphoning away your paycheck each month, you can get debt-free in less time than you think.
I've paid $800 a month for the past 3 years and haven't changed the balance on my credit card.
Get Debt-Free Now has a program to reduce your debt, stop the harassing phone calls, avoid financial ruin, and settle for less than you owe.
I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders.
You're pre-approved for our special hardship program if you owe $10,000 or more. Upon payment of your new lower balance, your debt will finally shrink until you are debt-free.
My family no longer has 30 years of payments ahead of us at 20% interest.
There's no fees until you see results. So call now, make one monthly program payment, and free up your cash. Resolve your debt.
Call 800-685-6422, 800-685-6422.
Summer clearance. Get your free $100 gift certificate to the first 100 customers who purchase $500 or more. And pay no interest for 1 full year with same-day pickup or next-day delivery. This special purchase 7-piece set, now $3.99. This dual reclining sofa with drop-down table and cup holders in beige or brown, $4.99. This Florida white bedroom set, $5.99. At the Furniture Warehouse in Sarasota, Bradenton, Venice, Port Charlotte, and Ellington.
And save big.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to save a life? Find out by donating platelets at Suncoast Blood Bank.
I'm Haley Wilgus, ABC7. Platelets aid in the clotting process and are vital in the treatment of cancer and surgical patients, trauma victims, and critically ill newborns. It's tough to keep enough on the shelves because they only last 5 days. To donate, call this number or visit scbb.org and you can help save a life.
ABC7 congratulates Suncoast Blood Bank on 65 years of serving our community. The official Suncoast Hurricane Guide from ABC7. Download yours today.
We're really good at waving the flag and boasting how much we honor and respect those who risk and sacrifice their lives to fight for our country. We haven't always been so good at looking after veterans when they come home. Tonight, Jacqueline Matter reports on the new effort to deal with the alarming number of veterans taking their own lives.
Kim Gillespie is just one of nearly 1 million veterans living on the Suncoast not getting the mental health they need.
I didn't know what was wrong with me.
A recent study by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration shows that only half of returning vets who need mental health care receive services. The battle they're fighting? Stigma. Something the Bay Pines VA healthcare system chief of mental health says they're constantly working to break.
It is easier for me to say that I have chest pain and cardiac disease than for me to say that I have depression, that I'm not feeling well, and that I think everything is hopeless and it's better off to die.
Some 22,000 vets used mental health services at Bay Pines VA last year. Clinicians screen vets for depression, PTSD, substance abuse, and suicide, which has become the VA secretary's top clinical priority after numbers have skyrocketed in recent years.
It doesn't spare anybody. We all know somebody who knows somebody, or a friend or a family member or a colleague that has gone through suicide.
As more and more veterans come forward with their mental health issues, Bay Pines has now implemented a new program called Reach Vet, which started 3 months ago.
Identifies the top 0.1% of veterans at risk just by reviewing the health records of these veterans. So what happens when we identify these veterans? These names are provided to the clinicians so they can re-engage those particular veterans or enhance the care of those particular veterans to minimize the risk of suicide.
Still, Carino says nearly 70% of veterans are not getting assistance from the VA.
Some of the patients are not returning to care. They choose to cancel an appointment, let's say. So by identifying these veterans, we have the providers and the staff reach out to them and re-engage them into care.
Which is exactly what happened for Army veteran Kim Gillespie after missing an appointment with her primary care doctor.
Once they assessed me in mental health, they realized that I needed inpatient care.
The former communications specialist was sexually assaulted while serving overseas in Germany. After that incident, she got out, returned home, and became detached from her family. She decided moving to Florida was her next best option, but the trauma of her attack soon took its toll.
The self-medication increased. I was inconsistent at work. I couldn't keep relationships. I started having encounters with law enforcement. So overall, my life really started to spin and spiral out of control.
After months of isolation and barricading herself in her apartment, the battle she was fighting brought her to her darkest moment.
Not knowing what was wrong with me. The only end result at that time I could see was taking my own life.
It's a thought many veterans go through. In fact, nearly 22 veterans a day commit suicide. Bay Pines' suicide prevention team uses analytic tools, outpatient care, and education in hopes of reducing that number to 0.
It didn't matter whether it was 20 veterans a day, or 3 veterans a day, or 2 veterans a day that committed suicide. 1 is too many.
The specialized programs at Bay Pines also include daily schedules filled with classes like trauma education, anger management, and coping skills. Gillespie says those classes have helped her gain a better understanding of what she suffers from.
The VA with a team is the one thing that I really differentiate from any place else that I could go. It's not just one doctor here, it's a team of doctors. Even from nutrition to rec therapy to spiritual guidance. If that's something that you choose to help get my life on the right track.
Being on that right track is where Carino says you can help. He says engaging someone when they're hopeful can be the difference between life or death.
One moment, you have really an intent of really ending your life. But it may be that with some intervention, that turns around at that moment again, and you postpone it and you say, no, not now, maybe later. That's the opportunity that we have.
After 6 months in treatment, Gillespie says she's heading home now knowing how to cope and take life one step at a time.
I'm excited. I'm a little fearful, but I know I'm not going home alone. I know the VA is also going home with me. I know in my heart the change that I want to be today is totally opposite of who I was before.
In St. Petersburg, Jacqueline Matter, ABC7, your Suncoast News.
Coming up, an incredible panel from the Veterans Administration to a vet on the front lines of helping others and a watchdog dedicated to getting vets the services they deserve. Stay with us.
Attention, Americans eligible for Medicare. Are you getting all the benefits you're entitled to? Did you know there may be money available to lower your medical prescription costs? Call Health Markets and we'll tell you if you qualify.
Hi, I'm Dr. Martin Jeetsi. It's a new Medicare year. That means more changes and more confusion. The key question is, what can you do now to ensure you get the care you need in the coming year?
Call Health Markets today. You may qualify to save money on prescriptions. We'll help you find plans that may cost less, cover more, and could even lower your prescription costs to increase your savings. We help you find all the benefits you're entitled to, and we do it at no cost.
Make sure you have what you need to get the care that's right for you.
Find out if you qualify to receive extra help with your prescriptions. Call the number on the screen now. Representatives are standing by.
That is a pretty good breakfast. You're not even eating.
Not hungry.
No? Why not? What's up?
Kath and I knew that Jenny'd been partying a bit. Found out she tried heroin.
Most people don't know what to say about drugs, but we do. Visit us at drugfree.org.
I am a veteran. My victory was finding the strength to be a champion.
My victory is having a job I can be proud of.
At DAV, we help veterans get the benefits they've earned.
My victory was finishing my education.
My victory was getting help to put our lives back together.
DAV provides veterans with a lifetime of support.
My victory is being there for my family.
Help us support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will make a difference in my community.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams, I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
There was a time not all that long ago that suicides among veterans of the Gulf War were a dirty little secret that no one liked to talk about. I remember as a reporter covering a rash of veteran suicides in another state, no one seemed to know what to do, most especially the VA. Today, an estimated 20 veterans commit suicide every day, but now the Veterans Administration is engaged in an aggressive program. It is called Reach Vet. It is designed to identify vets at risk for suicide and mental illness and provide preemptive care and support. And joining us for more on veteran suicide prevention is Jerry Zivic, a government benefits consultant and consumer watchdog, Brian Jacobs, a Navy veteran and founder of the local organization Vets to Chefs, and Patricia Frederick, a suicide prevention coordinator at Bay Pines VA Healthcare System. Thank you all for joining us. And Brian, let me start with you, because I remember talking to Vietnam veterans who said back in the day when they left the service, they, the military shook their hand and said good luck, goodbye, and that's all they got. When you came out of the service, was it different? And how many vets do you know out there who really kind of need help that most people don't really understand?
You know, when I got out, it was unique. I had just recently gotten back from a combat zone, actually, from Iraq. I was in the Anbar province in 2005, and we had just, you know, kind of done a quick change of command, and I was actually on my way back for orders. And I basically had a choice to make. I could get back, and within 7 days I would be out of the Marine Corps, or I would go back. And you know, so you had 7 days to transition, direct from a combat zone. And this was kind of a situation of if you're in, you're in. If you're out, goodbye. And unfortunately, it's a tough process. I mean, TAPS, the Transitional Assistance Program, it does wonders for what it does. It does give you some insight, but there's, you know, if you think about the military, they take so much time to develop a Marine or develop a sailor or a soldier. I mean, boot camps are, you know, 10 to 12 weeks long, but there's not that same emphasis put on getting out.
It's like a screeching stop from 0 to 60. Patricia, I mean, we have a lot to discuss, but is there a newer realization at the VA that that's what's happening to vets, and that there has to be more awareness that as soon as men and women come out of the service, they need at least some kind of screening or help?
Yes. I think the VA would like for those who are leaving service to come to the VA as soon as possible, enroll, begin to see what services you're interested in being a part of, so that in the future, if you decide you've started off with just medical care and then you see that something's going on in your life and it needs treatment, it's very easy to just transition right into mental health care.
Jerry, from the veterans' point of view, do veterans, I don't want to say have a responsibility to figure out what services that they're going to need or what are out there? You know, I mean, do the majority of veterans just don't know? Does the VA, in terms of a consumer level, do a good enough job to let vets know they're there for them?
I think there's a mutual responsibility on the part of the VA and on the part of the vet to meet with each other and talk with each other. I've read studies that have said the first 4 weeks after you're discharged are the most crucial weeks for a veteran. And I think the VA has recognized this now more, and they're reaching out more. But I don't think they were very good at finding vets that wanted to be lost. But as Brian, actually, we were talking before, if a vet wants to hide, you can't find them. You have to make yourself available to be found.
Okay. We are just getting started with this really important conversation, and we will pick it up right after we check on the weather.
All hands on deck. What's up? I want to point out 3 tips for using the home computer more safely. Point away.
First, stop. Make sure your software is up to date and that you've password protected your computer's login and Wi-Fi connection.
Next, think before visiting a site, opening attachments, or clicking on links.
Then connect, knowing you're helping make the web safer for you
and for everyone. Make Stop, Think, Connect part of your daily online routine.
Northland Outdoors is about so much more than the biggest fish or the hottest hunting spots. All across the Northland, there are amazing people with incredible stories to tell. We're going to find those stories and share them with everyone. Join us each and every week as we explore the Northland and experience some of the most exciting outdoor adventures in the country, right here in our own backyard. This is Northland Outdoors.
We answered the call of duty and left our homes to serve in far-off lands. Now, we answer another call, this time at home, in our own communities, to respond in times of chaos. To use our strength, our skills, and our experiences to bring hope amid devastation and destruction. Together, as a team of brothers and sisters, we're continuing our mission to make this country a little stronger and a little better each day. We are Team Rubicon.
Our discussion of veteran suicide and prevention continues in a moment, but right now let's get a check on our forecast from Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Well, the rain has been coming down heavy in places, and this is an interesting shot from Justin Stansel, Beer Can Island, right across the bay right there, with an interesting rain coming down at times and even lightning strikes. We saw some with our tower cam right there in the middle of Sarasota Bay. This from Casey Key webcam. Again, the seas have been rather calm, but once the storms move over there, the waves will start to pick up a little bit, so mariners beware. There have been a couple of marine advisories out this afternoon, stretching from Inglewood northward all the way up into the Tampa Bay area. The rain is still around into Hillsborough County, stretching down into Hardee and DeSoto counties, although it's a weakening there and lessening. The heavy rain by far is into Manatee at this hour. Some areas are already getting 2 inches of rain. We had a brief but heavy storm move through Longboat Key just about a half hour ago. That is cleared, but there's more on the way. This is a light to moderate rain, though. It's not the heavy rain that you would normally get with the afternoon and evening variety of storms. At first, it's the follow-up, and it's a rather large area of light to moderate rain that continues to move off toward the west-northwest. Lakewood Ranch, raining along I-75 all the way up to State Road 64 near Parrish and Ellington, and even into Bradenton. Not much now at Bayshore Gardens, but more is on the way, as I alluded to, as a result of that southeasterly wind flow. Even a few lightning strikes, too. Even though the rain may not be all that intense, there's still the potential for some lightning out there, so be advised of that if you're going outdoors this evening. Well, the satellite imagery is showing a frontal boundary located to our north. We have the typical afternoon and evening variety of storms here, and this is a tropical wave which promises to increase our rain chances a little bit on Thursday and Friday, and it looks like we will see maybe a little less action tomorrow in advance of this, but by the time it gets here on Thursday and Friday, there's a better chance for some more widespread rain and the potential for some heavier storms too in terms of intensity, and you can see that area right there moving off toward the west. That's the remnant low of what was a tropical depression. 74 degrees right now. The heat index not much of a factor because of the rain cooled air. We have an east wind at 10, the pressure 30-10. And that continues to rise now. The high today was 92. That's a couple degrees above average for boaters tomorrow. East winds at 5 to 10 knots. We really never get that sea breeze going, so it'll stay out of the east throughout the day, I think, for the most part. Seas running 1 to 2 feet with a light chop out there. The water temperature now at 90 degrees, and the beaches will see a high right around 89. The extended forecast shapes up like this. We have a 40% chance for scattered afternoon storms tomorrow, and then the rain chance picks up to 60% on again Thursday and Friday. Alan will be back with his guests right after this. Stick around.
Call to see if you qualify to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan right now. At Humana, we believe great things are ahead of you when you start with healthy. And part of staying healthy means choosing the right Medicare plan. Humana can help. With Original Medicare, you're covered for hospital stays and doctor office visits when you're sick, but keep in mind you'll have to pay a deductible for each. A Medicare supplement plan can cover your deductibles and coinsurance, but you may pay higher premiums than you do with other plans, and prescription drug coverage isn't included. But with an all-in-one Humana Medicare Advantage plan, you could get all that coverage plus Part D prescription drug benefits, all for an affordable monthly plan premium, and in some areas, no plan premium. It's all described in this free book and DVD. Call for yours and discover how an all-in-one Medicare Advantage plan from Humana could save you money. Call 1-800-558-8779.
Summer clearance. Get your free $100 gift certificate to the first 100 customers who purchase $500 or more. And pay no interest for 1 full year with same-day pickup or next-day delivery. This special purchase 7-piece set, now $3.99. This dual reclining sofa with drop-down table and cup holders in beige or brown, $4.99. This Florida white bedroom set, $5.99. At the Furniture Warehouse in Sarasota, Bradenton, Venice, Port Charlotte, and Ellington.
And save big. My name is Stephen Jaffe. The law firm's name is Farmer Jaffe. One of the beautiful things about Julius is he's always smiling, and it becomes infectious. The fact that Julius has a disability has absolutely nothing to do with the quality of work that he's done. Just a great person you want on your staff.
Hi, this is Dan Marino. When your business recruits people with disabilities, everybody wins. To find out how, go to disabilitieswork.employflorida.com.
It's summer on the Suncoast, and you know what that means.
It's Friday Fest season, and you're invited. Hi, I'm Ray Collins.
And I'm Jacqueline Matter.
Join ABC7 at the Van Wezel on July 21st when Kettle of Fish takes the stage to perform their high-energy mix of blues, soul, and funk.
We'll be there. Join us for great food, friends, and fun.
For more information, call this number.
Or go to mysuncoast.com/FridayFest.
Presented by Kettle Automotive and Cool Today.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are discussing the rate of veteran suicide and what is being done locally to respond to the crisis. Our guests tonight are Jerry Zivick, a government benefits consultant and consumer watchdog, Brian Jacobs, a Navy veteran and founder of Vets to Chefs. We want to ask him about that in a few minutes. And Patricia Frederick, the suicide prevention coordinator at Bay Pines VA Healthcare System. And Patricia, I wanted to start with you because during the break, I talked about the travel the VA has been in terms of recognizing this as an important issue. And you say over the last 10 years, the VA has really learned and grown in terms of how it handles veterans and mental health issues.
Absolutely. The VA has put in place programs that are designed to really reach out to the veterans and really help them to get access to care. And all staff are trained to look for signs and signals of suicide risk. And all of the providers are doing screening, risk assessment, safety planning with the veterans so that there's a better chance the veteran has the tools to know how to help themselves.
Is funding adequate?
I really can't speak to that, but I certainly do wish that we had more staff available.
Congressman, if you're listening, tomorrow night you're holding a town hall.
Yes.
What's the purpose?
The purpose of the town hall is to bring in the community and veterans to tell us what they're thinking, how can we all work better together to help to address issues related to suicide. We all know that this is a critical issue in our country as well as with veterans, and the VA is very clear that one suicide is too many. And we want to know how can we work with the community to help solve this.
Of course, the VA and what it does is only one part of this issue here. And Brian, you run an organization that is called Vets to Chefs. What is that?
Vets to Chef it's all about giving passion and purpose to a veteran's life through food and brew, as I say. As I tell most people, food found me when I decided that I needed a place in this world. I had gone through so many jobs. I had gone through actually 22 jobs. I sold insurance, I mowed lawns, I was selling air conditioners in a place that you really didn't need air conditioning. I mean, I was doing anything to make a dollar. And I had just latched on to something that had really found me in my darkest times, and that was food. And food brings people together. Food gives you an opportunity to be creative, to be artistic, to be insightful, to be passionate, and you can never stop learning about it. And it's something to me that has kind of really resonated deep from, going even back overseas. Is the best times of your life was sitting down, even opening an MRE bag with your brother Marines. I mean, it was something, it could be Christmas, New Year's, you didn't care, you were just happy to be able to break bread.
It almost seems like what you're saying is cathartic.
Yes.
Jerry, what as a community are we doing to make it easier for veterans to find the services that they need? I mean, you're a great consumer watchdog, but there's not a Jerry Civic on every corner.
Well, I think a show like this is very helpful. I think reaching out to friends and saying, hey, watch this show on suicide prevention and tell a friend about this. I think that is really critical. I think we all owe a debt to veterans. The sacrifice they made, the risk they made, and we as citizens have to look out for our vets every day, and it's critical to us. We have to be aware that there's a crisis hotline number. We have to be aware that there's a crisis text number. We have to be aware you can go online and have a chat with somebody, because if we see somebody that's struggling, we should reach out and help them.
The thought occurs to me is, Bay Pines is an incredible facility, and from what I understand, you're opening a new mental health center up there that is going to be the state of the art. It's unbelievable, and that's all well and fine if you're a veteran in need of help in the Tampa Bay area. But we have a huge state here, a rural state, and a lot of veterans live in it. And Brian, you have firsthand experience of what happens in terms of a vet who lives maybe not out in the middle of nowhere, but close to it, and doesn't have this kind of facility right near them?
Well, you know, it is, and it's one of those things that's, you know, I look at the care I get from the VA here, and it is wonderful. I mean, I get taken care of. I can call the VA hotline when I need, and I can go to an appointment immediately. And but when you live in an area such as my younger brother did, in the middle of nowhere in Georgia, when it was middle of nowhere, it was a dirt road. It was far. It was beaten off. It was off the beaten path. It was his way of dealing with life, and you sit in your thoughts, and you sit in your mind. And at this point in his life, he decided that his life was no more of value, and we lost him 3 years ago on Memorial Day weekend. And it's, you know, it's one of the big factors of starting Vet the Chef is, you know, I couldn't reach him. I couldn't reach out to him the way I wanted to make an impact in his life. And I am going to make that difference now. I'm going, you know, the great thing is that we have a great community here that's making that impact. You know, the new programs, but it's about putting the word out and have the community sponsor, get involved in programs.
Patricia, what can the VA do? I mean, you could, what you're doing here in our area is fantastic, but there is a nationwide debate over how to handle veterans who do not live this close to major VA centers.
Well, but there's also a nationwide network of suicide prevention teams in every single VA who are responsible for all of the smaller clinics that are affiliated with VAs as well. So the coordination among suicide prevention providers throughout the country, it goes on every day.
And I could address this to all of you, but I know from my years of reporting on veterans issues, what you were saying about your brother is not dissimilar to what a lot of Vietnam veterans here in Florida experienced, that some of them actually lived in the middle of the Everglades because it reminded them of Vietnam, but it was because of the PTSD. And, you know, is that part of the equation that our system is able to deal with?
I think, and I'm sure Patricia will agree with this, it's not just the PTSD, it's called polytrauma, where you have the PTSD, you have the substance abuse, and you have the depression. Those three factors, when brought together, that's the biggest cause of suicide with veterans. But I do want to address something, and not to be a naysayer here. The VA is working really hard, and since the last quarter of 2016, I feel that it's really worked really hard. But just because Brian's brother lived off the grids, there's no excuse wherever any veteran lives in the United States that they should get second-class treatment. And that's actually one of the problems with the crisis hotline. They had the one crisis center in New York, so they expanded it to Atlanta. But while they were expanding it, they didn't have enough staff in New York. So there's been a study that when callers would call in on crisis, they would go to a secondary holding center and get a busy signal, and they weren't treated correctly. And there's no reason that there should ever be second-class treatment.
What's the answer to that? Plus the fact, when these issues are talked about in Congress, I often hear members of Congress say, well, the answer to that is to allow veterans to get private health care that's paid for by the government. Is that the answer, Patricia?
I think when the VA can offer evidence-based treatment that has been researched and analyzed and is designed to be effective, and that's really invaluable, and you can't always find that in the community.
Wow. Let's take a quick break, and when we return, we'll have final thoughts from our guests, plus what some of our viewers are saying about last night's topic, local tax dollars funding charter schools.
It's fine that other people like you. It's more important that you like yourself. And I'm comfortable with every part of me. Meals on Wheels coming to my door as someone who's housebound assures me that I'm not forgotten. They care that I'm okay. My name is Asha Ida Bell. America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say hello. Volunteer by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
Are you a soccer mom or dad? Regardless of their age or experience level, when your kids play soccer or any other sport, there's one person on the sideline who is key to help recognize and seek medical care for sports-related concussion. It's you. You need to know the signs and symptoms of concussion, and you need to act if you think your child has been injured. Remember, when in doubt, sit them out. To learn more, go to cdc.gov/concussion. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004.
Who else has been taking your prescriptions? Keep your medicine and your family safe and secure. Mind your meds. To learn how we can help, visit the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids at drugfree.org.
Enjoy some of the best Suncoast restaurants on me. Just go to mysuncoast.com/dining, sign up for the newsletter if you haven't already, and you can win a $50 gift card to a restaurant in our area. We'll pick a winner each week, so go on our website and sign up now.
Time for final thoughts, and we were talking before the break about the issue of, it's great to have Bay Pines around here and all the services that are available, but what do you do when vets live in more rural areas and are too far away to travel to the VA? Some members of Congress, Jerry, are saying that veterans who live in rural areas should have access to private physicians. But does that have an impact in terms of suicide?
Absolutely. There's been a study that shows that there's been an 8% increase in suicide for veterans that have been treated at the VA. However, for veterans that have not been treated at the VA, it's almost a 33% increase in suicides. So if you want empirical data that you need to go to the VA, there it is.
Patricia, with the end of the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, there are so many more veterans, new veterans coming into the system. Is the VA at Bay Pines able to accommodate them? I know you're building and building up there, but are you?
We think we are. We would like the veteran to come and to begin to get engaged in care. Yes, we feel we're ready to receive the veterans.
And Brian, what can you say again to the people here in the Sarasota community? There are so many veterans in our community here, retired vets and new vets coming in. Your program is incredible, but is there enough programs like that around here?
There isn't. And, this is something that we, myself and a lot of the great sponsorship here in the local veteran community have thought about is that, how do you impact more? How do you make a bigger impact? And it's, it needs to be really looked at as more of a reintegration. And it's wonderful what the VA is doing. It's wonderful what these organizations are doing. But what's the next steps? What's the follow-through on the care? That's kind of where I feel like a lot of the shortcomings are, is that we treat veterans, we give them opportunity, we find ways for them to deal with it, but this is long-term care. I love going out to a good event where I love seeing my doctor, but if I had nothing really to positively put my mind into and search for every day and use for better, then where am I really gone? What have I really treated when I go home and sit? And it's going through organizations like reintegration programs like Vet to Chef and the other programs that we're supporting, like Vet to Brew, the Vet to Agro, the Vet to Bees, giving passion and purpose through something you can find a love for, to find a love back into this world. And that's where the VA and the other local community sponsors need to come together, is find those next steps of treatment.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you all for being here tonight. Before we go, we want to share with you what some of our viewers are saying about last night's topic, funding charter schools. Under a new sweeping education bill signed into law by Governor Rick Scott, school districts across Florida are required to give around 7% of local tax dollars to charter schools. Proponents say these schools deserve funding, while opponents say it will hurt the quality of public schools. And here's what some of you are saying. Michael Eliason writes, the legislature seems to find things to do with our tax dollars that we didn't ask for and refuses to do the things we voted for. Why are they called representatives? Doreen Starkey writes, when did we vote on this? Don't think the taxpayers get to vote on hardly anything anymore. But Rihanna Madison writes, I think it's fair that the money is shifted a bit Think about it, charter schools, parents pay taxes too. Charter schools are public schools. Well, what do you think about the rate of veteran suicides? What more can be done for our servicemen and women who are in need of mental health care? Join tonight's conversation by visiting our Facebook page at facebook.com/news@7. And FYI, you can watch past discussions. They're available on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. Thanks to all our guests for being here tonight. Jerry Zivic is a government benefits consultant and consumer watchdog. Brian Jacobs is a Navy veteran and founder of the local organization Vets to Chefs. And Patricia Frederick is the suicide prevention coordinator at the Bay Pines VA healthcare system. When we return, the U.S. economy added hundreds of thousands of jobs last month, but despite the growth, wages are not keeping up. We'll explain how it's happening with ABC7 business commentator Richard Stern. Plus, billions of dollars in assets left unclaimed. Florida is trying to help residents reclaim their property. We'll have the details in our primetime headlines.
I knew I could get myself out of this. I just needed some hope and some help.
I took the first step to recovery when I made the call.
If you're depressed, drinking, and using drugs, you may need help. And the Affordable Care Act guarantees coverage of substance abuse. Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment.
I had problems just getting to sleep, drinking and using pills every night.
I feel like I'm losing control. I'm afraid I'll lose my job or even my family.
Are you losing hope? You can recover and get back on track. Call now for hope and help with proven, gentle recovery programs.
I never thought that I could be somebody who didn't drink and use drugs.
I have something to hold on to for strength. I'm in recovery, getting the help I need.
Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment with someone who cares.
Call 1-800-764-8708. That's 1-800-764-8708.
I'm Cindy Lou. I'm Susie. I'm Missy. And I'm Betty Jean. And we're the Marvelous Wonderettes. Mr. Sandman.
Experience the best girl group songs from the 50s and 60s live on stage at the Players Center July 12th through the 23rd. Call 941-365-2494 or visit us at theplayers.org. You'll fall in love with the Marvelous Wonderettes.
I'm so alone.
Invest in Kids is a $7.5 million project to build a new Boys and Girls Club in South Manatee County. I'm Caleb Grimes, and I was a club kid. It's where I learned important life lessons, leadership, integrity, responsibility, and baseball. Thousands of kids attend the Boys and Girls Clubs, and after years of use, their club is slowly falling apart. Help us invest in kids. Make your donation today.
Welcome back. If you're just looking at the numbers, the U.S. jobs report is strong. 222,000 jobs were added in June. However, even as unemployment drops, wages are remaining relatively the same. What's causing this? Joining us for a look at the market is ABC7 business commentator Richard Stern. It's really interesting. 222,000, that's a good number for a monthly jobs report. But you had somebody who is the vice president of Manpower North America says we have not seen this. Unemployment drop, low participation rates, and wages not move. That tells you there's something not right in the jobs market. Any idea what that might be?
Well, I think what the numbers tell you is that there are more jobs, but the fact that wages aren't going up means that the new jobs that have been created are clearly on the low end of the pay scale, and therefore you do have more people working, but the wage scale doesn't go any higher, and obviously that's very problematic.
And not only that, as you said, some of the jobs are lower wage jobs, $10 an hour. There was, talk about the distribution center, which is like Amazon is popping up all over Florida. But, another analyst says you have these distribution centers on the outskirts of town. You need a car to get there, and you're not going to have a car for a $10 an hour job.
And I think that's very real. The question is, are these people willing to take an entry-level job in hopes that they can work their way to a higher job, whether it's within that corporation or somewhere else? Because, as you know, the hard job is the first one. Once you got the first job, then you can work your way up the work scale and the pay scale. So a lot of people are going to take those jobs in hopes that they can work their way higher.
But middle-income salaries are not going up either. That's been a trend that's gone over decades. There are a lot of people who are watching us right now who are your hardworking, working-class families who are struggling to pay their monthly bills and forget about saving for retirement or their kids' college education, why aren't those job salaries going up?
Because corporations are very, very conscious of their bottom lines. Almost every company, and there's an exception I'm sure, but almost every company is trying to be lean and mean and keep their expenses as low as they can, so that guess what? When they come out with quarterly earnings, and we're going to start to see a whole series of quarterly earnings reports in the next couple of weeks, they want the bottom line to be better than it was last quarter and better than it was last year.
One last question. Isn't that kind of self-defeating? Because if middle income and working class Americans are struggling so much, consumer spending is not going to go up to sustain those companies.
I think you're absolutely right. What a lot of people are seeing, of course, is that the people on the higher end of the wage spectrum continue to spend, continue to invest, continue to really help the economy grow. And if there's anything that can be done, whether it's a tax cut for middle income people, anything that can help that middle income strata is certainly going to help the overall economy, jobs, sales, you name it.
All right, Richard, thank you very much. Richard Stern is the business commentator for ABC7 News. He joins us every other week for a check on the market. Your primetime headlines are coming up right after this break.
Outdoor living is one of the greatest perks about living in Florida. So whether this is your style, or this, or maybe this, contact Superior Pools. They've been building pools from Sarasota to Naples since 2001, and they would love to build yours.
Florida's coral reefs are declining. Bad news for our oceans and marine life. Fortunately, you can help, and you don't have to dive, you just have to drive. When you purchase Moat's Protect Our Reefs license plate, $25 goes directly to Moat Marine Laboratory, whose research, restoration, and conservation programs are helping this precious natural resource thrive once again. So get your Moat Protect Our Reefs license plate today. You just might hold the key to saving Florida's reefs.
We're losing exotic animals on a daily basis, and the ones that we have in captivity are really the ambassadors for their wild counterparts. I'm Clayton Rozier from the Big Cat Habitat and Gulf Coast Sanctuary, housing over 150 exotic animals that needed a great home. And if you love animals, please help them. Do it locally. Support your local no-kill shelters, your local wild animal sanctuaries. Make a difference where you can.
I took my first handful of pills, and that's when all my priorities seemed to change.
He would ask to use the bathroom in other people's homes.
He just assumed that they would have medication.
He'd go in their medicine cabinets and steal prescription drugs.
I wish I knew really what these prescription pills were.
We were so naive about the whole drug thing.
These are all synthetic forms of heroin.
Keep your medication locked up because you'll never notice that a pill is gone.
Mind your meds. Learn more from the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids.
Designers do it with style.
Tell me what's going on here, because
why, you don't like my hair?
The Mark and Mandy Show. In-depth design ideas.
What is up with the tuck tape here? Let's cover it up.
Amazing beauty and fashion tips.
So Halle Berry has amazing skin. Her secret is coffee grounds. No.
Delicious recipes.
Today, I'm gonna show you a special dish that is sure to please that special someone in your life.
Watch The Mark and Mandy Show right here on your favorite channel.
Keep up with your investments and market trends by watching the ABC7 Stock Report. Get a recap of all the day's stock market activity. Be sure to watch your Suncoast News at 6 for the ABC7 Stock Report, sponsored by Sunset Cadillac.
Now for your primetime headlines. Big developments this morning in that meeting between President Trump's top campaign staff and an influential Russian lawyer. Donald Trump Jr. releasing a chain of emails shedding new light on the nature of that meeting. ABC's Emily Rao has the latest from Washington.
On its face, this is very problematic.
The reaction rolling in Tuesday afternoon after Donald Trump Jr. released what he claims is the entire email chain leading up to the meeting last year with a Russian lawyer with reported ties to the Kremlin. Also at the meeting, then campaign manager Paul Manafort and Trump's brother-in-law, Jared Kushner. Earlier, Don Jr. said the two didn't know what the meeting was about, but these emails forwarded to Manafort and Kushner had a subject line that clearly states Russia Clinton. Kushner has a high-ranking position in the Trump administration. In the email, Rob Goldstone, the acquaintance who set up the meeting, writes, quote, "This is obviously very high-level and sensitive information, but is part of Russia and its government's support for Mr. Trump," end quote. The story unfolding as multiple investigations into possible ties between the Trump campaign and Russia continue.
The investigation, it's not, nothing is proven yet, but we're now beyond obstruction of justice in terms of what's being investigated. This is moving into perjury, false statements, and even into potentially treason.
Hillary Clinton's running mate upping the accusations, while some Republicans are downplaying the frenzy.
If they're meeting with a foreign government, that's a whole different issue than meeting with an individual. I've got to find out all the facts on this to be able to see, but obviously it's a concern.
Both sides agreeing Donald Jr. should be interviewed. And at the White House, Sarah Huckabee Sanders reading a short statement from the president.
My son is a high-quality person, and I applaud his transparency.
Huckabee Sanders wouldn't answer any other questions about the issue. She referred all other inquiries to Donald Jr.'s attorney. Emily Rao, ABC News, Washington.
Now to Mississippi, where 16 members of the military are dead after a plane crash. The KC-130 refueling plane had taken off from Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point in North Carolina. Witnesses heard a loud bang and then saw the plane corkscrew into a field, leaving debris over a 5-mile area.
Crackling noise. Something, then it was all over it, but it was loud. It's just scary. It's just scary because after I seen all the black smoke, it's just something, it's horrifying.
The investigation continues, but there is no indication of foul play. Florida's new chief financial officer is celebrating a record year for the state's Division of Unclaimed Property. Last year, $313 million worth of unclaimed property was returned to rightful owners. More than 500,000 claims were made, and the average value of property returned was about $600. The unclaimed property comes from abandoned safety deposit boxes, unclaimed financial assets, and deposits. Officials say you should check to see if any of your property is being held by the state.
I would challenge anybody, if you spend 10 or 15 minutes on our free unlimited search database, you'll find either unclaimed property for yourself or some close family member or friend.
More than $1.5 billion of assets remain unclaimed. You can check to see if any of it belongs to you by visiting fltreasurehunt.org. Dozens of total strangers working together to save a group of people from drowning in the Florida Panhandle. Beachgoers on the Panama City beach know there's a group of people in the water calling for help. Over the weekend, the swimmers got pulled out by rip currents, but before help could arrive, about 80 people formed a human chain and got them to shore. That's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us. Good night.